Battlefield 6's open beta might be behind us, guys, but the news mill for this game just keeps on churning in a big way. Today, we got a pretty big community update from Battlefield Comms, which essentially acted as a big old debrief for everything in the open beta and the feedback we were providing. In addition, though, we've also been seeing a ton of leaks emerge from the most recent build of Battlefield Labs that also shows off some very, very promising things, especially around the customization and the progression that we'll be able to experience in the game. We'll get straight into this community update from Battlefield Comms first though, because let's be honest here, the community reaction from this one has been insane to watch. First up, the weapons section. Battlefield Studios have confirmed that they are making targeted adjustments to deliver a more consistent and rewarding gunplay. This is going to include a, quote, general pass on the recoil and tapfire mechanics across all weapons, further emphasizing their unique feel and improving range differentiation. The devs are also making changes to encourage controlled tap firing and burst firing, which is going to reward precision and weapon mastery. Getting all the mumbo jumbo aside, I essentially read this as potentially a general increase to weapon bloom across the board, which is going to do a couple of things to the gameplay. Firstly, it's going to better drill weapons into their effective ranges and will require more nuance from the players to get those ranges extended out beyond what they're intended to be. I think the SGX PDW from the beta is probably, the key outlier here that illustrates the need for this change, as that thing really did just feel like a bit of a laser beam at ranges in which it really shouldn't have from time to time. Secondly, it's going to further reduce the ability for you to simply hold down the fire button and just spray down targets at range. I imagine this is going to inject even more skill curve to the game and require even more finesse when using weapons at range, because honestly, I thought the bloom mechanics in this game were actually already pretty satisfying, but it sounds like we're going to get an even stronger kick towards weapon bloom being a thing. So of course, we'll see how that pans out. The developers also mentioned that the damn shotgun is in fact getting a nerf, that has been confirmed, requiring more pellets to secure a kill, and that they're continuing to investigate the time to kill and the time to death experience in the game. Right now, the time to kill is essentially on point with that of Battlefields 3 and 4, but I think we can all admit that Weekend 2 of the beta certainly had some damage compression hitting us with that time to death. There were times where we'd simply die around corners, or we'd feel like we'd take all of the enemy's bullets in one stray hit. So I'm personally very keen for them to dial that in quite a bit. The next section of the content that was brought up in this community update though was about movement. And holy guys, has this sparked quite the shit show over on Twitter and on Reddit. Dare I say, is anyone really surprised by this these days? Anyway, I don't know. I half expect there to be a big old explosion from one side of the community every time that movement is mentioned from the developers in one of these updates. But long and short of it is that Battlefield Studios have adjusted movement mechanics to create a more balanced and traditional Battlefield experience. Momentum, specifically horizontal speed carried from a slide into a jump, has been reduced. There is also now a greater penalty for consecutive jumps, or bunny hopping, which lowers jump height when jumps are spammed continuously. These changes are designed to make sliding and jumping more situational, so they are no longer ideal options for engaging in gunfights and will contribute to gameplay pace that rewards skillful movement without becoming too fast or unpredictable. Now, I have initial thoughts on this. In all honesty, while I was playing the beta, I really didn't find the movement to be too fast-paced or spammy. Yes, there was a slide mechanic and there was some jumping around from a few players, but to me, it didn't really feel like using those mechanics, using jumps and slides as a combat initiator sort of, type mechanic was really that useful, at least as useful as it is in Battlefield 2042, which, as I've been playing a lot again lately to get those damn cosmetics for Battlefield 6, has really reminded me just how fast-paced that game is by comparison to Battlefield 6. To me in Battlefield 6, the jump mechanics and the slide mechanics more felt like a form, of utility in traversing the maps. And my initial reaction to reading the community update and the movement section was that movement didn't really feel powerful enough to warrant a nerf in any regard, but it's also hard for me to form a concrete position on this without actually getting my hands on it first, and the specific wording of this update also tells me that there's a bit of nuance as to what the developers are actually planning on nerfing here when it comes to movement. This doesn't sound to me like a wholesale nerf that warrants the blowout that I've seen on Twitter and Reddit, so we'll just have to see how it goes. I hope DICE have actually taken a truly nuanced approach to nerfing the movement, because, statistically, Battlefield 6 is actually the slowest Battlefield game already that we've gotten our hands on for a very long time. And that's not a vibes-based assessment either. That's fact. If you look at the sprint speeds and all that, they are slower than the majority of Battlefield games that have come out lately. So we'll see in due time what's actually been changed here. Further to that, the developers also took a quick moment to address people exploiting on the rooftops of both Cairo and Iberian Offensive. Ultimately, yes, they're looking into it and have also made it really clear that the Assault class's ladder gadget, which is coming in the full game, is also being factored into the adjustments that they need to make as well to ensure that people can't glitch with that gadget either. We kinda already knew that they were taking a look at Cairo and Iberian Offensive to fix these exploits, but it's actually good to see them taking the extra initiative to address that. The latter might also be a problem before we even get our mitts on the gadget, so again, really good to see. DICE have also taken a moment to talk about the map sizes in the beta and all the feedback they heard from there. DICE acknowledged that they heard strong feedback from players excited by larger scale maps that Battlefield has to offer. While the open beta featured smaller, more fast-paced maps, larger maps are already part of the launch package. As part of the upcoming Battlefield Labs testing, they'll be testing 2 new multiplayer maps, which will ultimately be Mirak Valley and Operation Firestorm, 2 of the largest maps that will make an entry in Battlefield 6. Once again, I'm actually planning on doing a video about the map sizes in Battlefield 6 very, very soon. I just keep getting sidetracked by, IRL side quests, as I'll call them, but we are still going to do that video and hopefully provide you guys a bit of reassurance there as well, so stay tuned for that. Speaking of scale though, DICE have also provided some clarification on the certain player counts for certain game modes, namely Breakthrough. While yes, the Breakthrough layouts that we got to play on the maps in the beta were 48 player modes, there will actually be 64 player default Breakthrough lobbies at launch on select maps as well. Maps of which can specifically, take a 64 player Breakthrough objective. This is actually an approach I really like to see because there's no point in allocating a game mode-wide player count if the maps in question can't support them properly. I imagine that on maps like Mirak and Firestorm, we might actually see some 64-player Breakthrough, which will be a welcome addition as well, because I thought that the 48-player Breakthrough worked pretty well on Cairo and on Liberation Peak, but probably less so over on State Empire, which maybe means it goes down to a 32-player mode, for example. Anyways, just shooting the wind at this point. That's the lion's share of the content that was in the community update, guys, but as suggested at the start of this video, I also want to take a moment to talk about the additional leaks that we've been seeing come out of the Battlefield Labs build, because much like the update we saw to Battlefield 2042 and the content that's in that free battle pass, it actually goes a long way to reaffirm the kind of direction that DICE is taking with the cosmetics and the progression of the game, and it's all really, really good news. As always with leaks, I'm not actually going to include any leaked content here in the video visually, just in case EA decides to go on a slapping spree and taking stuff down with DMCAs, but I do have a link in the description down below to a Reddit thread that is live at the time of recording this video that you guys can go check out yourself. But one thing that has come out as a result of these leaks actually is an idea of how we're going to see differentiating soldiers and skins depending on which maps that we go to in the game. What's essentially happening is that within the NATO and Pax Armada factions, there's going to be squads or regiments that you can play as that represent the different nations within those larger factions. So as an example, under the NATO banner, there's Coyote Squad, who appear to be a United States military-themed bunch of soldiers that you can play as across the 4 classes. Or you've got the Desert Locusts, who I believe are going to be located on maps such as Cairo and New Sobek City, who are an Egyptian armed forces under the NATO banner. And each of these sub-factions that you'll play on as, you rotate through the maps where they make, thematic sense, each have their own individual visual customization as well. In the build that we've seen in the leak, this primarily appears to be surrounding camouflage. We've also gotten a bit of an idea of what the vehicle customization in the game looks like as well now, given that this was absent from the open beta. It does look like for most of the vehicles, you're going to be able to customize a primary, secondary, and sometimes a tertiary weapon, 2 onboard vehicle gadgets or abilities, as well as your gunner's secondary ability and weaponry as well, where applicable. The camouflage customization in the skins can also be spotted. You're also able to place emblems on your vehicles as well, which I imagine will be unlocked through completing various challenges or through battle pass content. There's also dog tag customization, player card customization, which also leverages, mastery challenges on all weapons and vehicles in the game. And of course, off the back of that, mastery challenges have been confirmed to be coming back to the game with 5 ranks to grind out as well. So yeah, it's very clear that the build that we saw in the beta was deliberately stripped back something fierce, and all of the stuff that's being tested in Battlefield Labs now is very much all about putting the cherry on top. You know, all about adding those finishing touches and those little elements of progression that keep us playing for the long term to keep us locked in. The fact that we're already seeing it in the build as we speak is a very good sign for me as well, and I think it really is indicative of, hopefully, a very feature-filled release when we get to the full release of the game. But folks, for now, that is a total wrap-up of everything Battlefield 6 that we've heard over, say, the last 24 to 48 hours. I actually was planning on getting this video out sooner, but I had to go on a work trip this week, so I do apologize for it being a bit later, guys. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to backhand the like button. It does go a long way to supporting the channel, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. We are going to be doing a ton of Battlefield 6 content, and I've got some really exciting stuff on the way for you guys there as well. Also, be sure to come follow us over on Twitch and join our community Discord, which are both linked in the description down below. Would love to have you guys become a part of our more core community as well. But until next time, guys, peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.